Recording is on.
Hello, Global Theater. My name is Gerry Fialka. Today is June 18, 2021. We want to thank Clinton Ignatoff for the great help he provides. Thank you, Clinton. And it's an honor and a pleasure to be here with Lulu today, who I was introduced by Duncan, and I'm so glad we're finally meeting. Lulu, tell us your full name, please.
Maria Luciana Sayanes.
Well, I love your nickname. I could not pronounce that correctly. So, Lulu, the first question is, what is the best thing for a human being?
The ability to choose. The possibility to choose, to be oneself, to develop oneself more every single day.
Yes. What's your favorite? Thank you. That was beautiful. What's your favorite form of information? How it comes into you?
Channeling.
Channeling. I've never had that answer. That's beautiful. And have you been able to channel from day one, or is something you developed over the years?
No, I think I developed it, and to be honest, I should have more discipline. It's like things come to me, and I need to develop more discipline because things just come. I know we all have the possibility to really develop a direct connection, but it is yet to really be developed. But I just feel things, and since I cannot shape them well or give them then I realized it was a channeling, intuition, call it as you like.
Yeah. Well, that's actually what this series is all about, is asking people to be more intuitive than thinking. But let's stay on information for a second. Why do you think people collect or gather information?
To feel safe.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is maybe part of a blind spot or part of the transition I'm currently at, because I'm currently really trying to blend both energies, call it yin yang. I know it's still in a dualistic way of thinking, but still we are in that transition as humanity and personally. So after some years of developing a lot my feminine yin, call it as you like, aspect, especially with maternity, now I'm in an environment in which I need to develop more solid, coherent, see what I said, concrete information and analysis. So I think both of them are very important, and in order to operate into reality, we also need that, facts. But for me, it's yet sometimes a blind spot because, of course, channeling happens, but it still happens in, I wouldn't say abstract, but not so tangible ways.
Really well put. You're very articulate, and I'm really feeling what you're saying. Thank you so much. In regards to information, the last question is this need or want to collect or gather information more innate in humans or more invented by humans?
I would say more invented. Because yes, the innate thing is to share information, in my opinion. Now, this moment, you asking me this. Yes, it's important. If it's applicable, I think it's innate. But this need to gather has been, I think, more developed than, let's say, put by a system that needs us to have more of anything. So sometimes a lot of information, if it's not, if we're not able to operate with it or have some incidents into reality, well, it's just information.
Yeah. Well put. Why did humans invent language?
Oh, this is a discussion I usually have with my partner because he's super against language. And me, I love words. I love writing. I love words. I enjoy words. In my opinion, language language is a way of expressing what maybe we are too fearful of expressing in other ways, and it's connected with this channeling. I'm the first one over communicating and using words, and I enjoy it, but it's like with channeling. Channeling cannot be defined as information unless it has certain parameters, as I was saying, or at least I don't feel I'm actually channeling, but I feel things. It's the same parallel, like you feel things, you know things, but in order to share it or in order to put it out, we need to find a common language. But maybe it's just because we're not in touch with ourselves and thus with the other. Probably there is some sort of gap there and multiply by different languages. Here, in fact, it's crazy, but at the same time, then you start having common languages. Here, I'm surrounded by people of so many different languages. My child now understands Arabic, Greek, because of the environment. But at the same time, we just communicate, and I think that's the key. Regardless, language.
Yeah, the comedian Lily Tomlin said humans invented language to complain. So I thought that was funny, but what's the difference between complaining and critical thinking?
Oh, again, I think it would be again in this discussion of the principles of probably. I keep thinking that we are in a world that's dominated by a masculine type of thinking, but not masculine in terms of men. I don't want to become the feminazi here, but like left side of the brain, you know, like focused on. And I think that anything is very useful in order to orient the energy forward. But I think the difference between criticism and critical thinking is that, or complaining, is the faith in change. Faith or hope or expectation or to know that we have the ability of to create change, and it's not just we're lost, we complain. Critical thinking is okay, let's solve this, let's use these tools again. I think everything goes around the same type of conversation here.
Yeah. Yeah, all my questions are the same thing, and it's beautiful because it's sort of like we're stepping into the river of your words, and it's always changing, but it's always still water flowing. What's the difference between revolution and rebellion?
Oh, I love your questions. Again, rebellion, I think, is without real. Okay, it's just a reaction. A revolution should be a construction.
Yeah.
Should be, because then we know, like, words have been so overused that they lose their meaning, and that's again going back to language. But I think rebellion is just the reaction of someone who doesn't want to be oppressed, but the revolution encompasses a more global and a more maybe one is more private, the other one is more public, one is more reactive, the other one is more constructive.
There's no right or wrong answers to any of these questions, but so far you've gotten everyone right.
I'm channeling. I don't, it's not me.
Believe me, I want to channel where you're channeling, or I think we already do. So, Marsha McLuhan, no, excuse me, Audre Lorde, she's a poet. She said you can't dismantle the master's house using the master's tools. And then Yvonne Rainer, a great dancer, says, oh, you can if you expose the tool. What new tool do you suggest?
Yesterday, I had exactly this conversation in the balcony of Exarchia, which is a great neighborhood in Athens. Great, well, now it's not as it used to be, but it's a neighborhood related to revolution, to rebellion, also to change. So even if now it's not like that after the last change of government, it still has that need of for freedom, no? And we were talking about how to change the world, and I was like, the same parallel with permaculture and current planting that requires, I'm not even gonna mention names of companies, but you understand what I'm willing to say. So we have brought agriculture into such an artificial way that we need a lot of things to keep it working, which is not even actually working. And the same with social engineering. It's so unnatural the way that society is trying to be led that they need so many artificial ways of confusing us and everything, that I think that the real weapon is going back to basics, tuning into, like, really trying to help people to connect to the most basic wisdom.
Yeah.
It's there. It's there. They haven't taken humanity from us. That's why I've always loved dystopias, because they have the seed of liberation from within the human.
Yeah. Wow, this is amazing. I'm learning so much. So, do thoughts create emotions?
Yes, and emotions create reality. Because now in the new, they say in the new crystal grid, is not anymore as we would say that manifestation comes just from the word, but it comes from the exact vibration. So we need to really watch our emotions, but before our thoughts, which really keep us vibrating, if I explain myself.
No, you explain yourself well. Is perception reality?
From a perspective, yes. I always like to think in terms of and stop thinking in terms of duality. Perception is reality because we create our own reality. Also, there is an objective reality.
Yeah.
It's both things.
Yeah.
I might be mild while saying this, not taking one side or the other, but depending on where you want to stand. That's what that it's hard to say, like, really to be categoric. That's why I really try not to, sentence things from one side or the other, because everything is a matter of perception.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of my questions are this or that. And it doesn't mean I'm giving the only two. And it doesn't mean that there are only two. And it does mean there's more story to it than the way I word the question. Rebecca Solnit, you remind me of her writings a lot. And she said, just because someone asked me the question doesn't mean I have to answer it. But you're still understanding that I'm just trying to throw out a little seed to enliven a discussion. It doesn't mean you have to stay in the parameters of the words I give for the question. So you're understanding. And then this question is even more stupid, but just your observations of people in general. Are humans more thinking beings or more feeling beings? I know it's both and it depends, but just the general observations of humanity.
I think right now they might be numb in both aspects.
Numb in both. I
It's
shouldn't
like
laugh.
a glass ceiling in both,
Yeah.
or you go to the other, or we start like, okay, we go from one. This is part of my transition right now. It's like, but I think there is a glass ceiling in terms of thinking because of fear of, and in terms of feeling of going deeper inside. So it depends.
Yeah, it in your word numb really led. You must have ESP because it led perfectly into the next question. Because modern thinker Marshall McLuhan said he learned from Ezra Pound, the poet, that artists are the antenna of the race. An artist, filmmakers, dancers, they're broadcasting the hidden psychic effects of our inventions. And he actually said when we invent the wheel, we numb our legs, or we invent, you know, anything, it numbs the whatever humanness it's extending. So we invent things, and that's, you know, I'm not saying inventions are good or bad, but we invent things. Like we invented agriculture, that plants were growing, but we invented like organized agriculture, or however you want to say it, like planned farming. And so then we can look to the artist to reveal the hidden psychic effects, and then we can cope with what we don't like about them. By seeing these hidden psychic effects revealed to us, we can go, well, how do we cope? How do we, you know, work with these unintended consequences? And McLuhan's main percept was, but we still ignore the hidden psychic effects, even though we can look to the artist to reveal them. Why do humans still ignore these hidden psychic effects, like the numbing? Why do we ignore that when artists are revealing them to us?
Fear. It's the only
Yeah.
fear of the unknown, fear of feeling, fear of going deeper, of losing a comfort zone.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not uncomfortable truths the one they are revealing, but you know, either one side or the other, when we are used to living either in very difficult situations or in very plastic artificial situations, pseudo positive, it's hard really to face the past and say, okay, up until now this was me. Okay, where where do I live my old self? Who, which self do I carry with me? I really like also one of the works I really try to do is timeline jumps, which has to do with my own versions and my own versions of reality. I don't know, it's my feeling. Again, it's something I don't know if I actually do, but I really feel I do, that I have switched the timeline. And it has
Now,
to do with that.
yeah, or further explain to me what you mean by timeline jump. You mean you go along in a routine and then you flip it? What does timeline jump mean?
Okay, you know, I go first like one step before. You know, the typical law of attraction theory and all the things. Okay, that's a theory from maybe a more static point of view, that I'm standing here and I attract to my life whatever I want, material, emotional experiences. Timeline jumps like would see like life as an infinite set of different timelines, like parting from the point that time does not really exist, is a perception of now, so that we can jump. I have made many like meditations, also going to my past, and in a way changing my psyche so much about those particular moments that I have solved them, and now they are not an issue anymore. So that's a left. That's going to the past. Come on, it's like it's a like a timeline jump in this same timeline. But also, you can start changing your way of thinking so much that you wake up. It's as simple as you're angry at your brother and you keep generating a negative reality, or you forgive him and the reality becomes different. That's a timeline jump, as
Yeah.
easy as that, even if you change your diet routine. So your life starts becoming different, and this you can extend from something very simple up to, so that's where I was saying thought, emotion, reality. It has to do with that, in my opinion. Of course, when we're submerged into reality, into this reality, into this perception, into, I feel a little suffocated while saying this, right? Like drowning. No, when we are so much surrounded by those emotions, it's difficult to take a perspective and really be conscious that we create our reality. But at the same time, I'm saying this, and then thousands of people come to us here to the association, refugees. How can I explain them? You create your reality. That's where my world collapse, to be honest.
Yeah.
How do I mix this knowledge, this wisdom from a westernized privileged perspective to people who are being deported and probably killed tomorrow in their own countries or have nothing to feed their children? Or I live with refugees. I mean, they are my family now. So
Yeah.
it's a little complicated also. My mind is collapsing.
Thank you. That really encourages me a lot, and gives me hope. But there's a line that McLuhan said that he said, "Carefully make plans, then do the opposite." Is that similar to a timeline jump?
No, I try. No, I have decided really in my life not to plan anymore. No, I don't even plan
Don't even.
because no, because whenever I have tried planning, so I was thinking about this these days. Like uh, 4 years ago, this time I was in Crete. I found out I was pregnant. Uh, the father of my child told me good luck. So I was a little confused in a foreign country, no family here, no money. What do I do? So I decided to release my trust. It was also, I like astrology a lot. It was a full moon in Capricorn, which was like release control, full stop. I had this dark night of the soul, like really, I felt in this tunnel. But then I realized I cannot plan. I can do my best every day to start creating. But okay, I can plan certain things. I can have my own objectives, but really, I try to not to fall into the flowing hippie thing because it has not helped me achieve many things. It's good to have objectives, but at the same time, really catch, like the antenna you were saying, catch the flow and really try to pay attention at each time what needs to be done. Probably it's that. I'm also, it's part of my process right now, so I cannot tell you. Probably tomorrow I think something different.
Yeah. That's exactly what my mother told me. She said, if you interview me today, I might give you all the different answers tomorrow. I go, that's all right. I'm privileged that you'll spend this time with me now. So you brought up the word fear, Lulu. That is important to me because the socialist John Basil Barnhill said, when the people fear the government, you have tyranny. When the government fears the people, you have liberty. And then V for Vendetta, the film in 2005, paraphrased it. It says, people should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people. Now, I'm not trying to promote fear. It's a human emotion. We all have it. But how do you personally handle false fears when they say the war on drugs or the war on poverty? You know, this is false fears. How do you personally handle false fears that are promoted to us?
I think, okay, here we have the situation of today. I had the news, just also to put you in contact with my reality. Today we heard the news that all refugees from Afghanistan, Syria, Somalia, like very, very complicated places. Even if they say the war has stopped and they are taking out the bases, like it's not the case. And they are deporting them to Turkey so that before they can enter the European Union, they are accepted or rejected there, otherwise they are sent to their countries. So we are living that every day with every person we see every day. Um, right now, I don't know how we're gonna deal with this because it's a very complicated thing. The best thing we can do, at least with what is happening now, that we will still have some people here to support, is like really trying to give them support, resources. Um, our biggest aim is to be able to have some lands to have families and be self-sustainable and make it grow, to change, to break with this dependence on the system. Maybe that's the best way, going back to basics again, the same thing.
Yeah.
Back to basics, because many refugees come here thinking that, okay, like the American dream, but okay, 21st century, the European dream. And we try to explain to them, it's not that explain from a distant thing, because really my team is made like, I'm a migrant, okay, I'm European because I'm also Italian, but people who grew in the streets, refugees, like we really try to be brothers and sisters, not from a distance. But at least sure, the thing is like, this is not the solution, going to Germany and buying a Mercedes. There are many other things to really, because this is what brought war in your country in the first place. That's a key. Greed, capitalism.
Yeah.
Capitalism.
Thank you. That was very articulate. And again, it moved me deeply and it encourages me. And so let's go to your upbringing and your background. Can you conjure up your earliest memory ever or one of them?
Yes, now it came to my mind, my first day of kindergarten. Ah, interesting. No. Oh, I was not particularly attached. Like, no, don't leave me. I was pretty happy. I remember all those images, like the space and everything. Yes, this came to my mind.
Yeah. And is memory more a curse or more a blessing?
For me, it's a blessing. I have. Okay, no, it depends. For me, it's a blessing. Maybe for the other people, it's it's a curse because I remember everything.
Yeah.
But sometimes, yeah, I have it. I have a lot of memory.
Tell
I
me,
like it.
yes, I agree. Tell me someone in your immediate family who had an impact on you, and what was that impact? As a role model, something that really moved you about that person in your immediate family, and then secondly, outside your immediate family.
Okay. Now my dad comes to my mind because he has always been like very determined, like to go forward and to give. He's 76 and he's still working because he likes doing things. He's super active. He has the wisdom that maybe in my case I went more to university, to school. I was raised more to. I wanted to become a diplomat, so I was like this good student, doing all everything that need to be for my CV, but I lost that he has, and now I'm trying to regain, which is streetwise, street wisdom, you know. But also, my mom was a fighter. My mom had fought cancer for 15 years, from when I was 3 until I was 19. Then she died when I was 19. I didn't know that, and she was so strong. So I think both of them.
Yeah. So outside your immediate family, someone who had an impact on you, and what was it?
Um, my dance teachers come to my heart, you know. Um, because the dance that I do is channeling with the body. It's Buto dance. It's channeling with the body. Um, since it's Japanese, there's where I met Danka, our friend in common in Tokyo, when I went to see one of the teachers there. And I cannot name one teacher because since it's like since it's the Japanese style, the Asian style, it's like a chain of people.
Yeah, no, I understand. That's all right. You answered it well. Did your parents raise you a particular religion?
Catholic, but not very Roman Catholic, but not very deep. My mom a little more. Then I got closer when I was in secondary school because maybe of my friends. Then I studied at the Catholic University, but then I started distancing myself progressively.
Do you
Now I'm closer to, let's say, I joke, neo-paganism mixed with Taoism. It's my spirituality, I would say.
yeah. Do you pray?
Yes, but not in the. I connect with my team, with my guides, with my higher self, with God. This depending on the day, but yeah, in a way, yes, but not with the traditional.
Yeah. If God does exist, what would you like God to say to you after you die?
Welcome back.
I went to a great blues man, Charles Brown's funeral service, and they said, "We're celebrating a homegoing." So that's a good place to put that. Welcome back. Lulu, do evil people exist, or does evil use people as a vehicle?
Whoa, whoa, whoa. I always ask myself that really I believe in the good of people, and I think you gave me the answer with your question. Because I really want to believe, like, okay, sometimes I call myself a unicorn, like, I think you gave me the answer. We
That
choose.
was really,
But I really like the way I will keep like we stay with your question like with I like it
yeah.
that way.
And so, how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? Let me set this one up with a few modern thinkers' thoughts. Alan Watts says, if you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them. Coppola stole from the mob and the samurais. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. JFK said, forgive your enemy, but don't forget their name. And Fellini says, I need an enemy. So there's a lot of thoughts. The basic question is, how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? But first, how would you respond to Alan Watts? If you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them.
First I was like if you asked this to me 1 year ago or even a little less, I would have said of course. Because I was more into this hippie living in the mountain, detached from reality, sort of reality.
Yeah,
After coming here and observing so much suffering, no, I don't think I could accept that anymore. It's like I think I understand in the term of vibration, in the term of like, of course, not fearing them, but acknowledging them. But not, it's hard for me, still hard for me to call someone an enemy, really.
yeah,
Because I know we don't always know the whole story of the other person, but also we make choices. So
yeah,
we progressively allow evil you as you said use us, and that's not, and that's our choice also. So in a way we end up being evil, just we end up becoming that evil. I think
yeah,
it's so much inside us. I don't think people are disposable. I really believe in everybody having the possibility and the power to tune into, again, as we started, they are highest possible self truth and positive traits, but it's a matter of choice. Here I see people coming from terrible situations and also recreating terrible situations here. It's very confusing. So we need to acknowledge the enemy, maybe not as a person, but as a way of, now it comes to me, as a way of acting. And really, we need to isolate that evil, that as it, if it were a virus, now that we're in a virus ruled world, yeah, something like that. Isolate that particle. I think there is a movie related to isolating the particle of evil, or am I crazy? So, yeah, acknowledging what is.
Again, really well put. It evoked this. Look at this homeless person in Venice said, enemy is the word name. So you don't have enemies until you name them. So enemy, there's the word enemy right there. Enemy. So yeah, it's Shenandoah said your enemy, Dalai Lama says it too, your enemy is your best teacher.
That's true, but really, I think the enemy is not the person, is the behavior, is the pattern.
Yeah.
Because they are our teachers and they bring to us things, but it's also the person is a channel in the personal level and in a collective level. That's why not depersonalizing, I think.
Yeah, depersonalizing, really well put. So James Joyce was the first projectionist of movies in Dublin, Ireland, and he basically checked out. He said, "This is stupid. Why should I go inside a building and see a movie of a tree when I can go outside and see a real tree?" Faulkner said years later, "Sometimes the best fiction is more true than journalism. Why do we have to recreate things in order to get them? Why do we have to go to a theatrical play of people acting out life? Why don't we just live life?"
Another discussion I tend to have a lot. On the one hand, the same with language, because we haven't developed the sensitivity to actually get into those levels of complex understanding. But I really think that in the current state of, let's say, numbness or whatever, recreation can really help awaken those cells and those emotions.
Yeah.
Because life has become flat in some way. So we need these things to bring some life
Yeah.
to
Are you
awaken.
more awaken and numb? Man, you use all the words we love to use. Numb, awake, awake. And depersonalize, that was an amazing word. Thank you. So are you more afraid of new ideas or old ideas?
I try not to be afraid of anything. It's
Yeah.
not that, but really, I have trained myself to accept.
Yeah.
Really, I cannot I cannot get into that. As an actress, really, I cannot get into that feeling so easily. I mean, of course, if I have to act, yes, but really, maybe old than new, but still, it's. I think there is wisdom in everything.
Yeah. We call that suspended judgment, not making a point of view and being aware of everything's, you're able to learn from everything.
I
And
like.
I'm curious the roots of you practicing that, how your parents raised you, or did you get it on your own? How did you get this sort of epiphany and that you practice?
The suspended judgment.
Yeah, that's sort of well, there's many things. One, I see in you an enthusiasm, and I see and I feel this like awareness I call it high awareness level, you know. And so where did that come from? Like the way your parents raised you or on your own? I mean, I'm just curious where you,
Yeah.
like
No.
did you change some point in your life, you
Oh
know?
yes. No, with all respect, my parents raised me in that normal traditional way. Okay, with good values, be a good student, be uh, the traditional way. No, with the years, when I started coming closer, maybe to a little bit of spirituality, some psychedelics and martial arts, but especially after traveling, I left Argentina almost 6 years ago. I went directly to Tokyo to see Josh Tono, one of the Buto teachers, and that's where I met Duncan. I think that was the biggest transition. I started like that, and then in the trip, then in the especially in all this situation of becoming a single mother, of like willing not to judge, because also it was really, really, really trying to keep unconditional love ruling my life, you know. It was a process, but it has become more profound in the last years, 6 years. Also, it was paired up with a global race of consciousness. In a way, we were all slowly tending to that, or trying to, because then I see that there is so much detachment to reality, and the same people with a higher awareness, then you try to share this situation, for example, which is dramatic, and they're like, uh and they're more interested in their bohemian bourgeois lives, bohemian, of course, but still.
Amazing. You say everything that's in my mind that I want to say, so thank you for doing that. Really well too. Um, so what first attracted you to dance? Like, I mean, did you see some dancer and go, I want to do that? Did your parents send you to ballet school growing up? Or, I mean, where did you go? I want to go that route. I want to pursue dance.
No, in fact, my first, shall we call it talent or whatever, is singing. In fact, I went deeper into Buto because of the whole philosophy, but my voice is my first tool, singing. I used to do opera and all that. But with dancing, I have a particular connection, which is my mom used to dance ballet, but when she was 18, okay, it was when she was 18, was 1962, 63. And she was told she couldn't keep dancing because she was too tall.
Oh, I see.
I understand. Okay, we're tall people. We have big bones. It's not so easy for a ballerina. I don't know in American measuring standards, but 1 meter 75 she was. So she never took me to ballet, even if I wanted to express myself too. I wanted to be an actress, a singer, and a dancer when I was a child, because the performing arts were always in my blood. But she never encouraged that because, okay, she was a little frustrated. Maybe she didn't want me to go through the same, or she didn't, in fact, want me to go through the same. Also, the typical, my dad wants just security for me. So arts do not match security, especially financial security. And my mom preferred me to have like a higher, let's say, status in my professional life. So it was also a process. I studied political science. I even studied in Richmond, Virginia for a scholarship. I wanted to become a diplomat to save the world, to help world peace. I don't know. Then I realized I wanted to do something else, and then is when I started deeply into singing and this Buto dance. And this Buto dance started by a channeling, because I was seeing, okay, I did some contemporary dance, but then I found out that it had also to do with martial arts, which I was already practicing. And I was very Eastern Asian culture. So I went to see what it was like. And that's how I met my first teacher. And I stayed there like 4 years and something. And very intense. I was also assistant in teaching. I went really deep into it. Really deep.
Yeah, that was good. We'll return to dance in a second, but what first attracted you to singing and acting? Did you watch movies growing up? Did you watch TV? Did you go to live theater? What were your sort of guideposts when you were growing up that you were seeing people sing, or you were listening to it on radio, or how were you hearing music, and what was leading you to pursue that singing wise and
I
act?
always say that I sing thanks to Freddie Mercury.
Okay, I see. Yeah. And then acting wise.
No, it was. I just wanted to perform. The acting part was not so. Because, okay, I did a lot of acting, especially Buto is dance theater, but I need music, so I never went. I did some clown, and I know I have the acting thing inside myself, but I think it always has to do more, if it's connected to music, it's. And Freddie was a performer. I like that performance that mixes everything.
Yeah.
Or the same, if you ask me about cinema, maybe a normal movie wouldn't even be interesting for me to watch to begin with, or even to act. Okay, if it's something very deep that you need to connect, but the typical plain way of acting, I don't care. Like my favorite filmmaker is Lynch, that drama.
Yeah.
So to give you a taste of, if you see Buto dance, it's super dramatic. It's like more this expression, and the need of expression.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying. And screenwriting teacher told me a great film or great art, great music is when you can clearly see the intention of the maker. Stanley Kubrick says the opposite. Great film or great art is when you can clearly not see the intention of the maker. What role does intention play in your creative process?
Okay. If you ask me theoretically, I agree with the second one in theory, because I personally like when I cannot find the logic. So, like those movies or those things you cannot actually understand and they keep vibrating inside. Again, I go to Lynch, but I love that you end up in a movie like, uh-huh. Or also in literature, when I read, I really like actually when it's not so clear. And when writing or when creating, yeah, I think it's a little bit like that, in that like fluid way of things, because I part from myths, I part from. I think it's more, and I love, since I'm in Greece, let's quote some Greek mythology. I love the Minotaur. I love Ariadne's thread. So
Yeah.
finding the in the creative process, I think it's more like that. Okay, I go into this, I go into that, and I see how it's connected. It's more difficult also for me to create in a way with a clear intention, I think. I try, but in the end, it's like more a sequence of sensations, or even thoughts, which lead to something. But again, it's like suspended judgment, as you call it. It's a little bit the same. It's
Yeah.
like you give something, but then the people need to awaken it, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, that was good. And Duchamp says there's no art without an audience. When you're creating, the process of creating, how much are you thinking of your audience?
Not really. It's just. But yes, when I don't know if it's so conscious, but at the same time, right now I'm not, the last months, even longer. Um, I'm so devoted to this project that I don't really have time to artistically create, but at the same time, I do all that is press, writing, and everything. So yeah, probably in that I pay more attention to the way I'm expressing things, but it's so intrinsic in myself that I don't know if I even think of it. I just feel. I just
Yeah.
feel like when cooking, really. When cooking, I feel it needs more of this, or but it's just a feeling. I don't know the exact amount of something. So I don't know how conscious it is, or if it's just something that comes with me.
Yeah. Do you more pursue meaning or more pursue happiness?
Meaning.
Yeah.
Otherwise, but I don't think there is happiness without a meaning.
Yeah.
At least I cannot. I cannot have. I don't know. I cannot see myself with a typical happy life.
Yeah.
I, I don't know. I could have an easier job, an easier life, an easier everything. Like,
Yeah.
and call myself happy, but in fact, I cannot.
Yeah. In this one, we've I skipped over it, but I want to return to it for a second. But does the brain more detect consciousness or create consciousness? Like, is consciousness there bubbling away and we're detecting it, or are we actually creating it?
No, I think we detect it. I think we open ourselves to consciousness, or we go higher or deeper, or whatever you want to say, in which direction.
Yeah.
Or I had this channeling. I had this image now. Well, in fact, it's not mine, but I remembered it. It's like pouring into ourselves, consciousness pouring. Like, in fact, it was now through this I remember a channeling that they say that your higher self goes, like, pours into you. Fire self, consciousness, tomatoes.
Yes. What's the difference between awareness and consciousness? Like being conscious and being aware. Is there a difference, you think, or how do you differentiate?
Yes. I don't know. Again, feelings, things that come to me. I think awareness has to do with relation to this, not space, but just like a photo. Okay, this is the state of the situation, the state of the union. It's like this. And consciousness has to do how do I stand myself. Yeah, it's super resonating when I'm saying this. So I think it goes here. I just felt it resonate. Consciousness has to do with a determination towards acting upon, or being in a certain way, having understood this state of things. After this awareness, I choose to be conscious or not. There is no consciousness without awareness, but you can just be aware and stay idle or angry. I think it
Yeah.
resonates.
Yeah. You brought up the word anger. Anger can be a productive emotion when fill in the blank.
When it's channeled towards change,
Yeah.
and it includes forgiveness, understanding, suspended judgment.
Yeah. I love forgiveness is also one of my favorite words. Mark Twain said, forgiveness is the smell the flower releases when the foot steps on it.
Oh my God.
Isn't
Mark
that a
Twain, you
great?
said, whoa.
Forgiveness is a hard one. I think forgiveness is the key. I'm glad you brought that word up. But
Wow.
I I wanted to go back to what you were talking about earlier, just a couple of minutes ago, was what people did in Paris in the 20s. It was called flaneur or psychogeography. You just wander aimlessly and you'll discover something. It's called Joyce said an epiphany in everydayness. So the cliche goes, the journey is more important than the destination. So if that's true, then why do we have to name a destination? Why do we have to seek a destination if the journey is more important?
No, I think it's a cliche.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we wander around in this like I don't give a I don't care about anybody else. It's just my life. It's super egoistical. I
Yeah.
think that the destination should be collective,
Yeah.
a higher collective destination. Otherwise, it's like I don't know if you have this phrase in English. In Spanish, it would be "sálvese quien pueda," which would be like whoever can save yourselves. But do you have something like that in English? Like I don't care about the rest. I save myself.
Selfish?
Yes, no, but there is a phrase in Spanish. Is "sálvese quien pueda."
Yeah.
It's like an idiom. I don't know if it's in English now. It's like just try to save your own ass and that's it. It will be
Yeah.
like that. Yes, of course, selfishness, but so I think that's a real problem. Even with the more aware groups, let's say if people have different types of awareness, of course, but not just levels, but also types. So maybe the most normal people, like white collar, can have the awareness of working hard for something, and I think that's something good. Consciousness. Let's even call it consciousness, not awareness.
Yeah.
And the more hippie ones, let's say, like using a cliche word, but like really might have this consciousness of, let's say, the love and everything. But really, there is a lack of actual collective and dissociation and distortion of reality and how to operate in it. And this is part of my transition as well. I was part of like I want to become a diplomat, let's think of success, and I went more into the more hippie, oh, love is everything. And I'm really trying to integrate everything into a more collective way of seeing things. And like we cannot continue like this, like trying to make your own reality. Let's try to build a collective reality.
Yeah. Lulu, you really epitomize what I flip AI. AI is artificial intelligence. Everybody's afraid of that. If you flip it to IA, that's McLuhan's main thing, was integral awareness, integrating everything into awareness, IA. But
Wow.
isn't that that's a great flip, hey? So what's more important, conviction or compromise? Now, I know it's both and it depends, but just in general, how do you feel about that question?
Compromise or commitment?
Yeah, compromise or conviction.
No,
Yeah.
I know. But my question would be, because I see compromise as something more negative, I rather use usually commitment than
I
compromise.
see. Yeah. You're saying change the word compromise to commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Because compromise is when you, okay, which is not bad, when you leave a part of yourself to get something else. Like, and this is, I, if, so, uh, you say conviction or commitment or compromise, right?
I said conviction or compromise.
No, but of course, in my opinion, conviction has a lot to do with a theory, your own way of seeing things, ego centered. Okay, it's good to have convictions and everything, they are like the guide. Because then, otherwise, I think it's a balance. Now I'm thinking, because if you go to the one side only having a conviction, okay, good, perfect, bravo. But it's just theoretical and it's just egoistical, egocentrical. But if you go to the other side and you go to the extreme of compromise or commitment without a conviction or without a clarity, awareness, consciousness, and all the beautiful values we have integrated in this fantastic interview, it's like being a soldier of what? You're serving something that you're not actually aware of. So I think it's a mixture of both.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's part of my process here. I like, in order to be able to see the world I want to see or to create this change, I have had to compromise and put parts of myself aside. Myself second, or third,
Yeah.
or 10th.
Yeah. Wow. So Utah Phillips is a folk singer activist. He said, anarchy is making rules for yourself and not other people. Who's entitled to make the rules?
I think rules should be channeled. Nature. Nature is entitled to make rules. Nature.
That is a great answer. Now, perfect follow-up. Are the laws of nature cruel?
We cannot judge nature.
Yeah,
This is the
that's
thing.
right.
We cannot judge. It's saying it's cruel, it's judging nature, and it's like, the thing is, here we're too attached of a way of seeing things, but we actually don't know if actually we're seeing things in a normal, aligned, let's use the word aligned now, high spiritually high way, We don't know. We just repeat things. Okay, we have the wisdom inside, of course. But nature and like really not just nature like the jungle, but really an aligned way of higher ways of acting that we don't we have not yet got into the openness and the ability to get that wisdom.
Well put. So, you've accomplished a lot in your life so far. Name the order of these three elements: luck, skill, and ambition. What played the biggest role, second and third?
Skill, luck, and ambition, I think, because with the years I put on, maybe now I'm tuning again into ambition in a good way. But I punished myself for many years because, I studied political science. I wanted, and ambition played a very big role, because I could see my ability to move things around, manipulate things. I was an excellent politician, not politician, when a student, I could do many things. And I didn't like myself. So I promised myself only to use it for the good, but I didn't find like back then and until now a good place where to actually channel that. I was really trying, so I punished myself and I put ambition last. Now I'm slowly like going back into really using the skills in a good positive way, organizing things and channeling energies in order to help more people, you know. Skill, my problem with skills is sometimes I rely too much on those skills, so I need sometimes more discipline. And luck, yes, I think luck plays a good role, but also it has to do with the skill of how to surf the wave.
Yeah. Good metaphor. Yeah, I would say Stacey Abrams, AOC, and you should run the U.S. government. I would vote for that ticket. So, T.S. Eliot said that poetry is outing your inner dialogue. What language is your inner dialogue in?
Images,
Yeah.
images.
So there's a mantra by a creative force. He says, ignore yourself. And another important artist said, there is no self expression. Jazz pianist Cecil Taylor says, I'm just a vehicle and this stuff just comes through me. Of course, this is both and it depends, but is art making, dancing more self expression or more you're a vehicle for whatever culture or technology is dominant?
It depends on the type of art. It depends on the artist and the person.
Yeah.
Like, speaking of punishing oneself, I think in the last years, I put myself in very difficult emotional, material situations because I have some sort of deal with my team, let's call it team, of spirit guides, which is if something is not for me, keep it away, you know? And I also had this deal of really, 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 really uh, helping me release my ego, especially because I wanted to become a better Buddha dancer because it's the dance to channel and empty yourself. So for me, it has to do with even if I have that thing of that, you know, I enjoy the stage as a joke. You know what I mean, like the histrionic thing. I know it's not the way. I know that shouldn't be me. That's
How
why
do you
I
know?
didn't go deeper into opera, for example, because I thought it was super egoic, you know. So I really think it has more to do. But for me, it's a battle because it's this part that wants like to shine, and this other part that is no, it's a different way. Deep
Yeah.
inside, I know it's another way.
But it also sounds like Bersani's study of the symbolist poetry, Mallarmé, says the very crisis which threatens the writing of poetry sustains poetic composition. So it seems as though that struggle or battle you have sustains you.
Yeah, like you make me think like the dialectic, you know?
Yeah.
Thesis, antithesis, synthesis is the way of moving. So yeah, probably it's never one or the other. It's like I have the image of fire and ice, you know,
Yeah.
collapsing. In the Nahuatl, I think tradition they call it Atlantinoli, if I'm not wrong. The mixture of fire and water as like the blood, you know.
Yeah.
So I think it has to do with that which gives life.
Yeah. Can Budo dancing, art making, singing be egoless?
Yes, I think yes. If we become channels, yes. You know, the last 45 seconds, a word has come to my head, which is honesty.
Yeah.
Wanted to share that. I think it has to do with that.
Yeah.
And maybe being honest
Yeah.
is one day becoming super ego centered. Maybe it's that, it's being honest. I think that's the way towards being egoless. Being honest. Today I'm a freaking narcissistic singer, dancer, I don't know. Okay, let's go there. Let's see. Because also Buto is pushing. For me, Buto is not just a dance. It is. It's a way of life.
Yeah.
Okay, let's push this to the limit. I remember the
Yeah.
first dancers would stay like 5 hours in a position. And I want to ask you, if you stay 5 hours like this, something is gonna happen to you internally. That's one of
Yeah.
the ways of getting to to the dance from Hijikata, one of the founders. The other one was Kazuona, which is the master of all my masters, one of my spirit guides, who is with me. He died 5 years, no, 10 years ago, 11. And he was the opposite. He said that from the motion you get to the movement. And it's also that. But the point is, do not judge whatever you do. Go to the limit. Push beyond the limit. It's move your body 3 centimeters, but 5 centimeters your soul. And it's a little bit like that. Once you go beyond that physical barrier, things happen. You turn. You cannot be like, even if you go deep into ego, even if you crash against a wall, something happens. Something changes. You are released. You are free.
Good word, honesty. Thank you. That was really articulate what you just said. Again, it helped me. On what occasion do you lie?
I try not to lie, to be honest. I try not to lie, but I tend to make up things not to hurt.
Yeah.
And I really try to be very, 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 very honest and sincere when doing communication of like the official public relations communication. I really fight myself to be just. And it is a work for me because I have the tools to be able to, I, I could have done political marketing when I was studying, and I chose not to do that, but I was freaking good at that. But I said, I'm not gonna do this. So I really try to, when it's in communication, I really fight myself to be as just and fair as I can with exact numbers and things. And it's a process that I keep it controlled. But yes, not to hurt somebody, I sometimes put sugar on things, not to hurt
Yeah.
feelings.
Yeah. Well put. Now, Lulu, Moshe Feldenkrais works with healing and movement. He says it's literally possible to identify a weakness and incorporate it to become a strength rather than we're normally taught to overcome a weakness. Tell me a weakness that you've incorporated to become a strength.
The fear of abandonment, probably. In fact, I write about this in my blog for Buto Dance, about of the strengths also becoming two-sided knives, like two-edged knives. I don't know how do you call them, because also our strengths can become against us. But as weaknesses, I think my biggest wound is the fear of abandonment or abandonment itself. And I went through it with with my child and all the situation. And the need to be loved, the fear of not being loved. So
How is that flipped into a strength? What is the strength you got out of that?
Helping, giving.
Help. Giving and helping others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not fully integrated because I avoid the uncomfortable thing of loving myself. But it helps me also love myself, so I don't think it's so far. But yeah, not trying not to feel anybody feel abandoned or unloved or that, I think. And another weakness is like maybe the lack of, let's say, sometimes I still have problems trying to, I don't know, it's not make a living, but yeah, it's like to really have some sort of security, material security. But in a way, I always manage to solve it, in a remote way. So it's like becoming more active, more aware. But also, it had to be through putting myself through difficult situations. In Spanish, we would say, somos hijos del rigor, meaning like we are children of a hard way of educating.
Really brought up Frank love, and I've studied Frank Zappa for over 50 years. He has a line that says, "You have to love the cops as they beat the shit out of you on the street." And he also asked the question, "What is beyond love?" How would you answer that?
It comes understanding.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm telling you, but that word comes to my mind.
Yeah.
Understanding.
It's a key word. It's and
And,
if you just yeah, go ahead.
sorry. No, and now I realize because first it came in a way of like, in interpersonal relationships and how you end up, if you love, you end up understanding the other. But also, if you love, if you vibrate in that love, you end up understanding the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, the
Yeah.
infinite.
Lewis Carroll said, I believe as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. Have you believed in any impossible things lately?
I think I'm always open to the impossible because I don't think anything is actually impossible. So in this timeline jumps that I really try to, of course, I sometimes get stuck in the, it's not going to happen, but really, I try to, okay, not in everything, because now, really, this context that the world is at, it's like making us believe a little less, so many barriers, so many blockages, even traveling is difficult, the new vaccine, the chips, like, okay, maybe. But I always believe anything can happen.
Yeah.
Anything can happen. So I'm just open. I let things come or I try to get things.
What do you worry about when you go to bed at night?
No, I wake up more worried than going to bed. It's strange. My worry becomes in the morning.
What's the main worry, or what's one worry you have in the morning?
Whether this understanding thing, understanding in my particular personal case, my couple is totally linked to the project. He's the
Yeah.
founder of the project.
Yeah.
So understanding each other. And okay, even if I was not a co-founder, I came some months later, and I'm working next to them as like one more, like I'm super involved in the project. And the understanding, personal understanding, is project understanding, and it's understanding for the people. And it's like how much is my old self that I really need to release, and how much is my own wisdom that I need to really get hold of and keep it, not to get into maybe scenarios that are not so aligned, in my opinion. So really trying to and it's always this, in my opinion, yin yang energies, this more incorporating way, or this more focused way. It's always those balances, but also it's a balance of privilege that I come from, even if I come from Latin America, with more difficult backgrounds that for me are still difficult to grasp. Because as I always say, when I was painting my nails and buying Cosmopolitan, my partner was eating from the garbage because he was living on the streets by choice. So it's a clash of worlds. I won't say clash of civilizations, not to get too political with cliches.
What's the most significant difference between men and women, physical aside?
The way of thinking, linear and circular. And
Yeah.
it's so difficult to explain that we think in a more circular, inclusive way. In fact, now in August, a friend of mine, an Argentine friend of mine, is coming from Spain, and we're thinking of making a documentary. We were talking, of course, she's just the one with the biggest cinema background. She's also a political scientist, but we're really trying to do something related to women as an object and as a subject, in the sense of, okay, about women, but from a female perspective. And it's very difficult also to explain men that there are two ways of thinking, because
Yeah.
the world is so so built. And again, not feminazi, really, really embrace the masculine energy, super necessary, super necessary. Without it, we are like around and around and around, and we don't focus, which is also true. But it's so difficult to express. We think differently.
Yeah, there's a filmmaker who I've interviewed that's brought up the issue of female gaze. And Laura Mulvey wrote about it years ago, but it's how women filmmakers come from this established way of looking at things because men dominated the art form.
The same with politics.
Well, same with that. Yeah, yes,
Like, when a woman has a strong personality, either she's like a man, they call her, or like she's on her days. And it's super difficult to express. We think differently.
yeah,
Please. But also for us, it's difficult, and until we get together and we say, sister, I feel you. Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah,
Really, it's very difficult, and not to sound as a feminazi, not to sound as an idiot, because it's like, poor little thing. You're not so fierce, or you're not so focused, you're wasting time. And it happens a lot to us with men, and it's not really, I don't want to create division,
yeah.
but it's difficult to.
Yeah, it's difficult, but it is worthy of discussing. And your word, understanding. We could, Pascal said, in order to understand anything, you have to understand this end of the spectrum and that, and everything in between. So it's like getting the big picture. But I would love to hear your response to this question. What caused matriarchy?
What caused matriarchy? I think matriarchy, like historically, was the first system, so it caused itself.
It caused itself. Good.
But no, yeah, if I want to get more technical or energetical or anthropological, we also have one thing of like really absorbing, which is not healthy.
Yeah.
the mother gets like to. So I think that masculine energy with detachment, and really particularly with my son, we have worked that a lot with my partner, helping me, like, okay, especially being a boy. So I think we also have that toxic trait of, the vagina sucks up. So it's also toxic.
Yeah. Really well put. How do you find peace of mind?
Excuse me.
How do you
Peace of
find
peace,
peace?
peace. I got peace of
Yeah.
meditating, or just connecting, finding silence. And if going to the sea for me is the best. Here in Greece, that's something good at least. We don't
Yeah.
have good connection, good internet connection, but we have good sea.
If you
Going
were
to the sea.
yes,
Nature,
going
nature in general.
yeah.
Nature.
Yeah.
Nature.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you were walking down the street today and you met yourself as a 12-year-old, what would you say to your 12-year-old self?
All your surrounding environment is bullshit. Don't trust it. Go to what you feel. Stop. Don't pay attention. All this is artificial. Don't go there. Find your path. Find your way. Okay. From another perspective, I know all the experiences are necessary. Blah blah blah. Embrace and all. Thank you. But too many years living in lies. No, thank you. You know,
Wow.
super posh, super superficial, super what they say, super, status. No, no, no. Bye, bye, bye. This is not the way. You,
Yeah.
you you will be loved. There are people loving you for who you are, not for all these things, or not to accomplish, or be yourself.
Yeah.
Just that. Be yourself.
Good. So these are 5 quick questions from Zen practitioner Alan Watts. Just off the top of your head, short answers. Who started it all?
God.
Are we going to make it?
Yes.
Where do we put it?
In our hearts.
Who's cleaning it up?
Ourselves. As a collective.
Is it serious?
Haha. Yes, but you say serious, and of course it's serious, but the different serious. My child's name is Sirius.
Your what
Coming from
name?
my child's name is Sirius.
S-I.
Sirius is it's like Sirius, but in the Greek like with Greek spelling, Sirius, like the
Yeah.
star.
Oh, right.
Because of a lot of channelings that I had related to Sirius before getting pregnant. Okay, I have a lot of relation with that area, with that geographic area of the universe. So yes, it's Sirius.
Yes.
The
But
star.
how do your son's name is Sirius? How do you spell it?
Seiarios.
Beautiful. Tell him
So yes, it's Sirius.
tell him this is what I tell my friends who are young. I say, you're doing a good job raising your mom.
In fact, that's a very nice thing, eh? I would tell him. Yeah.
um,
But yeah, when I say God, I mean the source. For me,
yeah,
saying God is like the source.
yeah. There's a question I'm going to set up with a quote first. Discovery cannot be purely intellectual, but must involve action, nor can it be limited to mere activism, but must include serious reflection. What does courage mean to you now?
Killing parts of myself that no longer match the world that I want to create. Getting rid of, killing, call it, name it.
Yeah. You remind me a lot of have you ever studied Judith Malina and Julian Beck, the theater, they're experimental theater people in New York. And here's what they say: we believe in theater as a place of intense experience, half dream and half ritual, in which the spectator approaches something of a vision of self understanding, going past conscious to unconscious, and an understanding of all the nature of all things.
Never studied them, but it's the same line that I follow, that I vibrate with. So it goes there.
Yeah. Yeah. It also reminds me of, Augusto Palo in Paulo Freire, the theater of the oppressed.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, they use theater as a means of promoting social and political change. The audience becomes the spect actor. They become involved. How you involve the the audience and the performer as one.
Yes. Breaking the
And
fourth wall.
yeah, breaking the fourth wall. Yeah. Anyways, we're rolling to a close here. It's really been enlightening, and thank you so much. Just a couple more questions. And Lulu, thank you so much. I mean, this has been truly enlightening for me, and I appreciate your time. Uh, Thornton Wilder said, art is confession. Art is the secret told. But it's not only the desire to tell one's secret, it's the desire to tell it and hide it at the same time. Now, that's a cute saying. And by asking you this question, I'm not trying to imply you haven't, because you've laid your cards on the table and been very honest and articulate. What's it really all about for you?
And it comes to my biggest blessing and also my biggest common place and wound, which is love. But I
Yeah.
should give a step towards understanding after this
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
I study myself a lot. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Enneagram. Any
Yes.
types? I'm a 2, clearly. Clearly, no doubt, I'm a 2. With all the good parts and the bad parts.
Yeah.
So I cannot go so deep into the the excuse of love, because it's a pit that I can fall. So I think I should head towards understanding.
Yeah.
No, in a
Tell
deep
me.
way, through love, through the heart.
Yeah. No, I'm thoroughly convinced of your how you articulate what you're about. I mean, it has really touched me deep in my soul, in my heart. Usually I say an interview goes good when either I tear up or they tear up. And there's been like 3 times I've teared up, and it really touched me deeply. A lot of what you've said today, and it will resonate with me. I know. Um, Tell me something good you never had and you never want.
Something good I've never had and I've never want.
Yeah.
Good for me or for the general people in life? You know.
Well, you're answering a question with a question. You win. That's what this series is all about: inventing new questions and new metaphors and new cliches, turning cliches into archetypes. Yeah, I mean, just whatever we generally think is good. Most. Yeah, I mean, you're going to distinguish what you could say. Yeah, tell me something that you think is good that you never had, but you never wanted.
Uh, I think a normal life.
That's
Maybe
good.
I had a little bit when I was a child, a normal life, but being inside myself and feeling and not actually connecting. But maybe in my first years I had that. Okay, it's not I never had,
Yeah.
but the typical
Yeah.
life as a
Yeah.
grown
No,
up.
that's a good answer. The three answers I usually get are heroin, money, and fame. Those are the three. um, what's the healthiest cultural shift you see developing today?
In myself or outside?
Yeah, yeah, either or both. You put in the context you want. Yeah.
Okay. In myself, a cultural shift is really, really, really. I'm exposing myself. I mean, I came from sort of Latin American privilege, but privilege or little privilege. That keeps working now, but I mean, it's like okay, good studies, and then even in my hippie times, it was related to privilege. Sort of things were calm. Never seen violence. The hardest thing that happened. Okay, my mom dying, becoming a single mom, but I'm being exposed to people who suffered a lot and have been through a lot, not only materially but in terms of violence. And being exposed to their triggers, and for me that's important because I'm starting to have a deeper understanding of humanity.
Yeah.
I'm also feeling grateful, but at the same time feeling grateful physically and psychologically, but not so grateful because I see myself at, oh my god, so I was such an idiot, not because I'm smarter now. Like breaking the bubble. How do you call it? Breaking the bubble.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And that's one. And culturally and globally, everything is so confusing right now that I don't know what this cultural shift can lead to. Like 1 year ago, I could have told you, yes, we are all awakening and the critical mass of awakening, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, of course, because I was not living in the city. I come here and everything is the same, and people just care about going back into normal lives. And with all the restrictions and everything, so globally, I really believe in humanity, but I'm very confused. I really hope um, people can go a little back into themselves, but without nature being uprooted, being detached, being living in artificial context, I don't know how much that can actually happen.
Yeah. Well, this is the last question, but I hope we can be remain friends and talk to ever forever to each other. I really appreciate your time today. And what gives you the most optimism?
Also, people,
Yeah.
because I believe in people. It's like this confusion. But I see both things here. I see people trying to step on the other, trying to get as much as they can, selling it to their brothers and sisters. That kills me because really I'm not saying this from a from a distance saying, "Oh, I'm okay," and I know we all of us we live together, the teen refugees and everything. You open our fridge and it's not particularly, but we never think of doing any kind of business. You know what I mean? Like with the resources that come. Really, honestly, we're super strict. And when we see that happening, that a person comes and says, I have to buy the milk from this, or I don't have for my child, and people taking advantage, that kills me. But at the same time, I see a lot of generosity, or at least growing, a lot of lovely gestures. So it's both things. So, and gratefulness. Gratefulness, there is a lot of gratefulness, and I really, 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 really hope that we are planting a seed that will be spreading, even if they go to the northern country, because here Greece has become an open air prison. You know, people want to escape. They either buy fake passports, they do the Balkan route in which they are beaten in Serbia. This is the reality, and our friends are there trying to escape because here there is no future. I'm sorry, I love Greece. Thank you, country, but it's very hard. So their dream is to go to the north, but also to make this European life. So it's very confusing. That's why we want to offer the alternative of let's go to the land and live a happy life of sustainability. But I also really hope they, like it happened to me when I was pregnant. So many people helped me when I my first years of serious, and I said, really, this has to be multiplied. This has to be multiplied. So I really hope that happens, and that's what gives me a lot of hope. You know, the ability of humans to understand and refill that love, and that's understanding. I think
Yeah.
more than peace, maybe it's understanding the world.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Lulu. I appreciate it. Your website is linked on our video so people can go there and support all that you do. And want to thank Duncan once again because this is truly a dance of partnership. We're all dancing together. Don't stop, keep going. Thank you.
Thank you for opening my heart so much. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you.